Okay, I'd like to open this public hearing on the topic of cannabis on July 20th, 2021. This public hearing is being held in person in the town hall. All members of the town board and town clerk are present. There were 3 people in the audience at this time. At this time, we'll rise and pledge to the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Okay. Town clerk will read public notice.
Please take notice that the Town of Clinton will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Town of Clinton Town Hall, 1215 Center Road, Sheltsville, New York, in order to hear comments from the public on the issue of cannabis, including the following questions. Do we want to allow the sale of cannabis products in our town after the regulations get developed by New York State? Do we want to allow smoking parlors in town? Do we want to allow smoking out in public places? All interested persons will be heard at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make a few comments just to bring everybody up to speed if they haven't read anything on the webpage relevant to this topic. The town will need to make decisions before September 1st, 2021. So if local laws are needed, there's time to enact them, because some of our decisions require local laws. The 3 things we really need to make a decision on at this time: do we want to allow the sale of cannabis products in our town after the regulations get developed by New York State? If we allow the sale, we'll be able to receive a 3% sales tax revenue source. If we do not approve the sale in town, we will not get any from the sales tax revenue. 2, do we want to allow smoking parlors in town? 3, do we want to allow smoking out in public places? No cannabis smoking is allowed in private or public vehicles and eating places. Organizations can restrict smoking in their facilities and grounds. All the above are subject to town zoning as to locations and restrictions which must be revised. There are some other issues possible once we get the new rules and regulations from the New York State government later this year. So with that little background, I open up the floor for comments, and please tell us who you are, what street you're on, and your comments.
Russ Tompkins, Sheltsville. You know, I remember Cuomo saying that marijuana was a gateway drug, and as far as I'm concerned now, because he can make tax money off of it, he thinks it's okay to legalize it. I'm very annoyed by the legalization of marijuana. I still think it's a gateway drug. In my experience in law enforcement, I had more than one person that was, how could I say, whacked out because they were spaced out on marijuana. I am against any sale in the town. I'm against any smoking parlor. Reminds me of an opium den. I am against any smoking in public. Anything that we can opt out of for that, I mean, the little sales tax you're going to get from the sale of marijuana, I think we can well live without it. And I'm adamantly opposed to any, how can I say, favoritism towards marijuana usage in our town, and hope that you will opt out of those areas. Thank you.
Okay, next one, Frank.
Frank Venezia, Long Pond Road. I'll have to disagree with the judge. I think you should allow as much as possible and collect those taxes. We do need the money. I don't think marijuana is a great gateway drug, anything more than alcohol. Alcohol is probably the true gateway drug for most kids. Okay, that's what they'll do first. All right, and maybe you can throw tobacco on that list as well. The one thing I think that the town board really has to concentrate on, though, is don't do something that's different from alcohol and tobacco. And the town already has zoning regulations against smoking in town property. You can't smoke in the parks, you can't smoke here on that should stay, and it should apply to cannabis, okay? But if you have not, and I don't think you can, ban smoking in all public areas. A public area is a road. I know you can't ban smoking tobacco on a road. I don't think you're going to be able to ban cannabis on a road, and I don't know that you should. And I think you're just opening a door to lawsuits about being arbitrary and capricious. Do the same thing for all of them. And I think that's what people expect to see from government. The main reason why we have this movement in the country today about legalizing marijuana is because we do treat it differently than tobacco and alcohol. And yet we know alcohol is probably more debilitating to our bodies than cannabis, all right? So people know that, they're aware of that, and they're becoming more comfortable with cannabis. So I would hope that the board would keep the rules similar for whatever you're doing for alcohol and tobacco, do it for cannabis, and then you don't get into an argument about, oh, this one's worse than that one and all that kind of stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we got one more.
I wasn't, Elliot Werner, Willow Lane. I wasn't planning on saying anything except I have to admit I agree with Frank. Now, that's a rarity, but nevertheless, I think Frank got it right this time, and I agree with everything. Basically, I agree with everything he said.
I have a question on something that I'm still unclear on. So the 3% tax, as you laid it out, Ray, is we would only could only get that if we allowed dispensaries.
It's only on sales in town.
Okay, so if we banned,
Authorized
say, the
centers,
smoking
so-
parlors, we would still, but we allowed the dispensaries, we'd still be able to collect the tax.
Yep,
Okay.
because
I just
smoking
wanted to make-
parlors don't have any income as we perceive it right
No.
now. They're a separate entity.
Okay.
Do we know how, because I kind of been out of the loop on this one a little bit, do we know how, like, the percentage that it'd be broken down between the towns if we accept it in here, just out of curiosity?
4% of whatever you sell,
Oh, so it's only of what we sell in town?
what we sell in town.
But doesn't the county get a cut too, and then they share it with the towns?
No,
No?
that's, the money all goes to them and they split it, but it's based on our sales in town. So no sales, no money.
Is it 4% that we get or 3%?
It's, I gotta look and see. 3%, my mistake. The county gets the state gets 1%. The county doesn't get anything, I don't think.
So we collect 4%? It
Yeah,
all goes to the county, the state gets 1, we get 3.
yeah. And just talking to other supervisors and council people in meetings that I go to and all, there is no consensus across any of them what positions they're taking. Like, there's 5 people like us, 2 do one thing and 3 do another, and vice versa in the next town, so it's not unanimous any place as far as I've seen so far. But, come the August meeting, second Tuesday of the month, we're going to have to put our heads together and decide on the direction so that if we need to do a local law to enact with every one of these 1, 2, or 3 situations, we have time to let it go through the process, because it's got to go through the process before the end of the year. So that's a decision point. So we'll take any comments that people still have we'll put it on a webpage, and they can send them all to me by email, I prefer. And I'll circulate them with the rest of the board, and we can determine what makes sense to go. And, this is pretty hard. There's no referendum or anything where you have, 500, 600 people saying yes or no or maybe or whatever. So it's a difficult situation to make an analysis.
It's interesting you say the referendum, though, because I'm under the impression that if we do pass a law, that people in town can pass a petition to have a permissive referendum to go against our law.
I haven't heard that come up at all.
It's in this.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It may be.
There's a provision for a permissive referendum.
Yeah, I know, but for certain things, not all things. That's why I don't go crazy trying to keep track of all these things. Going backwards. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, subjective to a permissive referendum, which essentially adds another month to the process.
Well, and that would mean that if we pass something, say,
If we enacted in
October,
September,
then somebody passed a petition, we'd have to be ready for a November election or have a special election. Yeah,
Yes, that's correct.
that is correct.
If it comes after the November election, then we have to have a special election. That's correct.
oh, okay. That's why I'm trying to start the process in September, approving whatever we want and writing up or
Yeah.
resolving how we want to do what, so that we have time for all of these little glitches that pop up along the way. Because even though we may pass it, like on the 15th of December, just to pick a time, not necessarily a real date, but a time, until it gets approved by Albany, which is not always the fastest place in town nowadays, it's not done. It's not legal. So I'm trying to build in time, and that's over the Christmas holidays, and a lot of Albany is still working from home, and it just adds another level of complication. Anybody have anything else? Yeah, come on up.
I want to just clarify, because I'm a little confused about the sequence. This is a state law now, or it will become a state law, or it's not yet a state law?
It is a state law.
It is a state law, so
Yes.
it will go into effect regardless of what the towns choose to do or not do.
Right, if the town chooses to take no action, then all these things are allowed automatically.
So in New York State,
So you have to opt out, basically.
Yeah,
yes. In New York State, marijuana's been legalized. Already, somebody can carry around 3 ounces on their
Right.
person and be fine. They're trying to figure out the rules around dispensaries and all those other things, but if you do not, by the end of the year, if a town does not say that we're not allowing dispensaries, then automatically one
Is allowed.
Is allowed if they applied for it in the town of Clinton, one would be allowed. I personally think no one's gonna apply to put a dispensary in the town of Clinton. They're gonna go where the people are. They're gonna go to Rhinebeck and Hyde Park.
But then there's no need for if the consensus is yes, then there's no need to vote at all for the
Exactly.
town board.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it will happen by itself.
Yes.
Other than the fact that we wouldn't get the revenue if we don't vote.
no, if
No, if we don't have a law,
we don't have a law
we
against
would
it,
get the revenue.
yeah.
Oh, I thought we
You
had to
gotta
vote
opt
to
out.
allow.
No, you gotta
No.
opt out.
We automatically allow it by December 31st if we do nothing.
Yeah.
Then I misheard what you said. I thought what
And
you
the
said
tax
was-
revenue would still be coming, even if
If a dispensary was in town making sales,
even if the town board does not positively or actively vote to,
Authorize it? No, it's by default.
this happens,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, but after the new year, then we can create zoning laws.
Right,
Well,
I
we have
understand
to.
that.
We have to,
Right.
To
you
allow
know,
it.
regulating where they can be and how they operate.
Yeah, and those zoning laws will be dependent to some extent with respect to the rules that New York State is setting up, saying so far from a school, so far from a group
A church,
home
yeah.
and church or we don't even know what they are because they haven't written them yet. So all of that will have to be codified within our zoning laws to meet those requirements too. So that's an extra shuffle that we'll have to go through. The granting of the actual licenses for this, I don't expect to occur for over a year. I mean, just with the speed at which New York State government does things, by the time we get the rules and figure out what we want to do and all that, it's going to be the end of next year. This is not a fast thing. Okay. Okay.
I mean, like you said, if you don't do anything, it opens up the ability for somebody to request to have a dispensary to sell, and these other three things: sale in town, smoking parlor, and smoking in public. So if you don't do anything, you're going to have that.
Right.
We don't have any bars in the town. We don't encourage people to go drinking in our town. You can have your booze at home, that's fine. You can smoke your marijuana at home, that's fine. If you're going to have a sales in the town, you're going to get 3% of the tax for that sale in town, which is highly unlikely anyway. But I think if you look at what people want in this town, you don't want people driving down the road drunk. You don't want people buying marijuana and leaving and smoking it. What you do in your own house is fine. I guess if you want to grow it now, you can do that.
Yeah.
But I really think that the quality of life in the town, you should vote against all three of those things and take the advantage of it. You can always change it later, but if you don't do it now, if I understand it correctly, you're stuck with it. So I don't think you should open the door.
The only one that, that I can read at the moment is if we vote no on the sale, pass a law for no, we can in the future open it up. The other two, I'm not sure of. There's not much information really available on this stuff.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
To Russell's point, do we have any zoning regulations against bars?
No.
If Smokes for Less wants to buy the Schultzville store and put in a smoke shop there and sell what they sell, do we have any laws that would prevent that? I don't think so.
No.
So I disagree, Russ.
It would
I
be
don't
the-
think we should be doing different things.
And there are
You
two
know,
vineyards.
If we want to try to pass a law that bans all alcohol sale, I don't think you get that through. If you want to try to do it, okay, fine, you know, but I don't think we should be picking and choosing.
We do have
That's
a
all.
bar. We have the Adrian's Farm. Has a
Well, right, yeah, but.
I can think of 4 places too in town that sell alcohol.
That's
Yeah.
a farm, except
Well, no, but you can sit and drink over at the Schultz, at the Golden Russet. You can go to any of the vineyards. You can go to Old Adrian's Farm. I mean,
blacksmith.
Old Adrian's, yeah.
Yeah. On North Creek Road.
Cultural alcohol serving platform.
Oh, that's a different issue.
It's a lot of fun. I'll get
How
my
we doing on
terminology
time?
correct.
Well, if
6:19.
we end up voting no with shops and sales, I mean, people are just going to buy it in Salt Point or someplace else and use
still
it here
come home
anyway.
here. Yeah.
I, personally, I'm inclined to agree with Russ. However, how do you enforce what decision we make? I mean,
well, that's a zoning. That's how
That's
we enforce
another-
it.
you know, once the state has deemed it's legal, you know, there's a lot of enforcement questions that are going to come up
Yeah.
for our town. So, that's all.
When I was thinking about it, like say a smoking parlor, if we're concerned about people smoking at a parlor in the town of Clinton and then leaving and driving home or whatever, well, that smoking parlor is going to open up in Rhinebeck or Pleasant Valley or Hyde Park, and they're going to go there and smoke and then drive home to Clinton. Like, they're still going to do that
Some
same
distance.
activity,
Yeah.
no matter what we say.
I mean, we have basically an older
Yeah.
population in the town of Clinton, so I don't see it as much of a demand. So even even the younger kids that may live with their parents, or even the younger kids that may have been able to buy a house here, I don't see it as being a real popular item. I could be totally wrong, but whatever. So I don't think it's going to affect us one way or the other.
It's going to be a lively topic, for sure.
Well, it's got a lot of questions right now because everybody is saying federally it's illegal. But statewide, they say, oh, you can do it. Now, I'm not going to get involved with that, but there is this conundrum that we're stuck with. Who rules, the federal or the state? I'm
That's why
not,
they can't open up bank accounts, because it's federal.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so far, the federal government has not really bothered any of the states that have legalized it. They haven't made.
I know, but
they
I'm
haven't-
just saying,
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean.
if you're going to be a strict constructionist, we have a problem. We all done chit-chatting here?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. We have another agenda item we were going to talk about, but I think we talked about it already. We may just do a quick summary there. Okay. I make a motion. There being no further comments, I make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Adjournment. I make a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's adjourned.
I'm gonna miss those roll call votes.
Oh, you want me to do that? I can do
Nah.
that. I'm almost memorized.